Hey everyone, you're listening to the Tea with Tanya podcast, and I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose. I'm a public health professional by day and your average tea-loving millennial and content creator by night. My goal for this podcast is to share public health stories, self-love and wellness tips, to educate and empower, and to promote positive living. This podcast is here to serve you. Join me in the tea tasting room to see what I have brewing for you.
Good. I can't complain at all. I'm having a good day. We were supposed to do this a long time, but we both had issues. So
it's nothing happens before it's time. That's one of my my mantras.
Take two. Let's do this.
All right, let's go. So hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Tea with Tanya podcast, where we talk about all things self-love, wellness, personal development with drops of public health stories. Let's get into today's tea tasting room to see what we have brewing. And today I have a very special guest in our tea tasting room, someone who I love dearly, someone who I never thought I would be friends with. As you can tell by today's title of the episode, we're talking about friendships and what can every friendship last, or not every friendship rather is gonna last. So guys, I'm talking to my very good friend Michele. Say hey. Hi, Michele.
Guys. Hey.
Thank you for being on the Tea with Tanya podcast episode. It's always a pleasure talking with you. You're one of my realest friends.
And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast. And thank you for asking me to come on to your podcast.
Of course, after our feedback from our Instagram live episode, of course, when I launched this podcast, you definitely were going to be one of the first few people that I interviewed for, or I guess have on my podcast. When Michele and I, when we get to talking on the phone, we don't know
when to stop.
we don't know when to stop. So we're going to try and keep this episode as short as possible, because let me tell you, we can sit here, we can call each other just to say, hey, I'm fun to see how you're doing. And it ends up being a 2-3 hour long phone call, literally. Yeah. So we're going to try and keep this short and sweet for you. So we're going to get into it today. We're talking about not every friendship will last. So before we get into how we met and everything, just tell us what you think is a friend. What is your definition of a friend?
Well, my definition of a friend is someone that is there for me. It doesn't have to be there for me all the time, but I think the most important parts of my life, the significant parts of my life, the significant things that are happening in my life, I feel like that is, to me, most important for me in a friendship, and that person is a friend. I think that friends should be supportive. I think that friends should be loyal as much as they can be. I think that honesty is very important in friendships. Friendships, to me, are like relationships, to be honest. The same things that I would want from my partner is literally the same things that I would also want from a friend. But I think most important is that being there, that no judgment zone, that genuine, just really being
genuine love.
Yeah, that genuine love and care. And basically all of the things that we do want from partners, I feel like I want that from my friends. So that is what I would say friendship is to me.
Echo the same sentiments. And what I was Googling early today, I saw a definition online, and it said a friend is a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. And I feel like, we often say we can't choose our family, but we can choose our friends. And sometimes our friends become our family, because let's be real, some of us have family members who are just not, I guess, up to par, as we would say, up to standard, or they don't display the qualities that we want. In our everyday life. So that, to me, I'd like someone who's trustworthy, who's loyal, who's going to have my back. I do know that we all have, stuff going on in our life. Like you and I, we don't talk every day.
No.
We try our best to check in, text to see, how are you doing? How's it going? How's work? How's school? How's whatever. But again, guys, like I said, when we pick up that phone to call each other, we are on the phone. In the blink of an eye is like 2-3 hours has gone. I'm like, what, we gotta go now, because if we don't put a stop to it, we can go on for a while, guys. That's just how
Listen, guys, I am Tanya's drive commute.
Guys, I commute
work, and she commutes, I think, 2 hours, and I am her commute. I'm her
Yes, you are. I was like, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. And then, you know what, before you know it, I'm pushing that key in my door at home. She's like, yeah, you want to using me for your commute. But, you know, I am grateful for you, Michelle, to be honest.
no problem.
Guys, what was I going to say? Yeah, how we met. So how we met, and this is probably going to be the first time that you're hearing this, Michelle. So I can't wait to see your reaction on camera and hear what you have to say. But, you know, we didn't go to the same high school, guys. You know, I went to one school, she went to the other, and so we weren't really interacting. I didn't think you played sports, so we
She
weren't
went to the bougie school.
I did not, guys. I went to this. You know, we are. I don't remember you playing sports. So obviously, I don't remember seeing you on the YMCA like that. But I just
never
remember.
went to YMCA actually.
Oh my God! Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What was your high school like?
I'm gonna play that ball.
Wow, guys, now we got to revisit what's going on with you back in your high school. But wow. But anyway, guys, so, you know, as we got older, I guess, you know, later in our high school days and I guess early post high school, college years, I would have always seen her, as we say in the Caribbean and Antigua, liming, or as you guys, you know, hanging out with a certain group of people. And I always say, you know, she's in the high society or she's in this particular social circle that I'm not in, or I'm not fit to be in. And that could probably just be a way how I think about myself. I don't know why. But, you know, so I just never in a million years. If someone said, Tanya, you know, you and Michelle are going to be friends. I was like, in what world? And it wasn't until you came to Atlanta 2018, I guess spring, summer for the carnival, and you were here and we were talking, getting to know each other. We just hit it right away. There was no bad blood. Because, you know, guys, you can put a group of people together and there's just some people like, you know, keep to themselves, even though, you know, we're just all hanging out, you know, for this particular event. And we just hit it off. We kept talking about blogging and these different things and, you know, exchange numbers. And even after that weekend or your vacation time here, we still spoke. You know, I will check up on you. Then we were planning someone that's mutual to us wedding. And I figured, you know what, okay, after this wedding, we're going to go separate ways again. And we're just like, I'm not going to hear from you ever again.
What?
No, that was just my thought process. Like, you know, because you know, people, they talk to you just to get through, like, let's say a group project. And then after that, we don't see you, you know, again. So I figured it was going to be like that. But guys, we developed this bond, unexpected bond that I, to this day, cherish. She's one of my realest friends. She's too real for me. I'm like, why can't you just tell me what I want to hear? Just don't tell me the truth. Just, you know, indulge me a little bit. But guys, she doesn't do that. She said, Tanya, I don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you, you know, but she gives me that warning first. But, you know, she is one of those, the realest person that I know. And this is why I'm here to talk about friendships with her, because, you know, she knows my troubles and my tribulations and my trials with, you know, the many friends that I thought I had. She's opened my eyes. She's removed some of that cloud that was over my eyes for me to see much clearer and, you know, better my life. And, you know, as I was reading too, when a friend is someone who that makes us healthier or just better our lives. And we want people in our lives that's going to push us to do better. So that's my recollection of how we met and where we are. So you can tell the people what your recollection is.
Okay, so my recollection is I felt like we were always cool. Like I felt like I don't remember my teenage years that much. Like I remember certain parts of my teenage years, but I do remember being very cool with you. Like you would always tell me hi and stuff like that. I am very sad that you feel the need to think that I was in some high society or I was around a certain crowd, which I would admit I could see why you thought that way. But listen, it's only one person introduced me to all these people, Lindsay.
Right.
I don't want to introduce to them people. And she found...
Shout out to Lindsay.
Like, she is the one. I met Lindsay on High Five. She reached out to me.
Wow, High Five.
Yeah, so if I talk about our friendship, this is going to be a long time, but our friendship was a little bit weird. Lindsay is very brave, but this is not about Lindsay. But yeah, so I'm very shocked that you said that. But when I met you, when I got to really hang out with you, I never thought anything about you, to be honest. I just always felt like you were Curtly Ambrose's daughter, and you know.
Oh, you put in my business out there to the podcast world.
I'm so sorry. Her dad is like a legend cricketer. And in Antigua, it was like, oh, that's Curtly Ambrose's daughter. You know, like that for me, in my world, that is what it was. Right. So you were popular for me in my world.
Wow. But yeah, I get it.
Your father is a legend. Let's be real. So it was like that for me before we became like friends. I felt like
Right.
we were social media friends. And when I say social media friends, not close social media friends, but we were very cordial with the likes and
Right, and comments and these
and that
things.
type of thing. And then when I came to Atlanta, I found out that Tanya is like the coolest person ever. Anybody that have spoken to me about you, though, they have never said anything bad. I have not experienced that. So when I met you and I got to hang out with you and stuff like that, she look a bit miserable.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit miserable, a little bit. But
I can admit that.
I think that's who she is. It's her personality. It makes her who she is. But nonetheless, not miserable in a bad way. She just can't be bothered with things sometimes. But
that is true.
Honestly, I had no. And when you came into my life and I came into your life, I never thought that we would just not talk because I'm not that type of person. My personality, for some, I wouldn't say it's sad, but my personality doesn't allow me to just be like dropping people and stuff like that. So I was happy that we were able to form a friendship, and I was happy that you felt good or you felt okay with me as a friend and confided in me, because you did confide in me very quickly.
Right.
Very things that was happening in your life, and I was happy that you were comfortable with me and I made you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Tanya is my girl, like.
And I think it's just your energy, because I mean, I don't usually open up to people. I'm like, you got to be careful who you trust, especially, you know, like you said, who my father is. You know, you have to really and truly be careful who you confide in. And you gave me that energy, and I was like, wow, there was never a doubt in my mind that you were a good person and you were going to be a good friend. Still is a good friend to me.
The girl, I would have dropped her. Can y'all believe it? I would have never.
I mean, hey, I'm just saying, that was my thought.
Yeah, but we bonded more over.
We did over a period of time. I mean, here we are. But I do want to ask you: do you think there is such a thing as friends for life?
I do. I think that there are friends that some people have managed to have a friend for life. I just think it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of understanding of and being okay with who that person is. I think the biggest thing is if we gel and if there's respect in that friendship. I think if you don't have that, then I don't think that people are going to have friends for life, to be honest.
Right, that is
especially
true.
In this new world that we are living in.
Okay. I do think that as well, because I have friends that I think that we've been friends for over 20 years. Oh wow, that just made me sound so old. Oh my goodness. But and then I have friends that I met that I can see us, like for instance, you being friends for a really long time. Then I do now struggle with friends that I again had for a long period of time, but I'm now thinking, okay, is it time for me to
let go?
Let go of this friendship. Like, what am I holding on to? So if you can tell me or tell the people, when do you know, or how do we know when it's time for us to let go of a certain friend or certain people in our lives? Because I feel like I still struggle with that to this day, even though I know I should let go, but for some reason they're still here.
I think it's a situation where I've never really had a lot of friends.
Right.
And my circle is very small, believe it or not. Yes, a lot of people know me. I do hang out with a lot of people. But I would say that they're my friends. There's a very thin line sometimes that you just don't cross. Yes, they are your friends, but again, there's categories to it. I do think, like any relationship, if it is that something is no longer benefiting or no longer good for you, we know when things are not good for us. We know when friendships are not good for us. And I think that when you see that, it's time to let that situation go. And I think the hardest thing is that we want to cut off people, right? Especially people that have been in our lives for a long time. And it's not going to just work that easy because our heart is involved. You have friends that, you don't think that y'all are in the same place right now. And y'all are on two different roads, but it's people that you love. So it's a situation where you're torn between, should I continue to put myself on this road how am I going to drive on this road when the road is splitting in two?
Right.
And I think at that point, you really need to say to yourself, it's no longer about the friends and it's really about you. I think the older that we get is the more we lose friends. And there is nothing, for me personally, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it because I think people grow apart. People grow apart. And if at the end of the day, you and others are just not, y'all been friends for so long, it's toxic. Like,
okay.
No, I'm just saying sometimes in friendships, we have toxic, people think that friendships and relationships are different, but they're really not. Sometimes you have friendships that it's just very toxic and toxic in a bad way, toxic in a way that keeps you down, that keeps you stressed, have you thinking about all sorts of things when it comes to that friendship. A friend really should be there to lighten the load and not give you a heavier load. So I think
is a word.
When you are in this position, you have to let go, love them from a distance. There's no animosity between you, but it's just that you're choosing yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That is true, and that's something that I've had to learn because let me tell you, I have friends, the toxic traits. It's just time for me to really let go. But I'm just still holding on because I don't want to break. I'm like, okay, no, we've been friends for so long, so I think I put like the number of years we've been friends versus, they're not reciprocating what I'm giving them. Sometimes we want I feel like everything should be 50, like any relationship, everything should be 50-50. It shouldn't be like, we talk about the 80-20 rule, or it shouldn't be the one person is doing more for the other. So that's something that I have cut out some people, and I've stood in that, I haven't really regretted anything because again, it's for my peace, but I feel like there's still some people here who are like extra baggage that I need to just leave at customs or something and let somebody do whatever they want to do. But I'm getting there. It's like one step at a time. But for you, what are some red flags? I know for me, it takes me, like I tell you all the time, my dad used to tell me, Tana's like, you learn the hard way. And he's like, okay, what are you saying? Because you're younger, you're not listening to what your parents say. Well, now as I gotten old, I'm like, he's right. I have to learn the hard way before. Like you always tell me, Tanya, it's like you have to learn the hard way.
No, the thing with Tanya, guys, Tanya sees it, but she tries her best to think that it's going to turn around after 10 years of that. She's still, for some reason, trying her best to see, okay, maybe. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just who you are. That's your personality.
And that is true, but I feel like, it disturbs my peace or my happiness. And that's what I've been learning more and more, especially since I started therapy. But for some reason, I try to see the good in everybody. But, that's just life. But what are some red flags in friendship should we look out for? Like what are some deal breakers for us to know? You know what? You do this one too many times. It's just time for me to just not even talk to you or just put you, as you and I would say, in certain levels. Because, there's levels to friendship or I guess certain category. So what are some deal breakers or what are some red flags that we should see or, look for?
This is a very hard question for me, and I'm going to try my best to answer it as best as I can. I hope I'm not going to be long-winded, but oh Lord. There are a lot of red flags when it comes to friends, but I think it depends on the type of friendship that you have. So I think a lot of us, we are friends with people, but technically people are not friends with us.
Ooh,
and I think the moment that we realize that, I think that then will allow us to put, I don't want to say that there's red flags when it comes to friendship. There are flags when it comes to, people are going to be jealous. People are going to act a particular type of way. If you have, I don't want to give you guys typical answers. If someone is jealous of you or if you notice that, you should get out of that. If it is a situation where you notice that, hey, when it's time for me to hang out, I'm always there. When I want to hang out, they're never there. There's a lot of things. There's a numerous amount of red flags, typical red flags that we should see as humans. But I think when you notice that someone is not being your friend off the bat, no matter what it is, based on what you are looking for from that friendship and what you want from a friendship, I think that's when you have to say to yourself, okay, you know what? Maybe this person is not that kind of friend. I think a lot of times people like me and you, we put all our friends in one category. We put all our friends, oh, this is my friend, and yes, I have to be there, I have to put out, I have to do all of these things. And in turn, they have us in a category. They may have us in a category like, okay, this is the friend when I need something, I know that I can call Tanya.
Right.
Or it might be like, if I want to go out, she always down to go out. I know I can call Nikima. Nikima is gonna just be down to just
right.
go out and whatever. But you as a person have to say to yourself, okay, but when it's not being reciprocated, then you have to really sit down. And I think only people that sit down and think about stuff is really going to see the red flags.
Right.
I don't like to put everything on a broad brush, but I think typical red flags are typical things that we are actually seeing in friendships that we don't like. So if it is you are not liking something in a friendship, it's either you're going to communicate it for it to change, or you're going to dip out because you already see that it's going to affect you in the long run.
Right. So piggybacking based on what you say, communicate with that person if you see something that you don't like. How, and I feel like I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you. How do we know when to confront a friend about something, that they've been doing, or when to fall back? Because I feel like for me, instead of me confronting, instead of me confronting a person doing something to me over and over and over that I do not like, I just I'll just be quiet. I'll come vent to you because you know what? Or I don't know what should I say? Because I don't want to hurt that person's feeling, but in turn, they are the one that's hurting me.
Right.
When you think about it, that they're doing things that's really bothering me, but I'm not, in a sense, speaking up because I'm worried about if I speak up, they're going to say, oh, wow, why is Tanya speaking up? She's not used to doing this, or, who is she doing to even talk to me? Then I'm thinking, okay, that's going to create some kind of animosity between us. I don't like confrontation because let me tell you, one time, because like I said, I'm part of the Mind Your Business ministries. And one time I stepped out of not minding my business, and that ended up putting me in some jeopardy. So I told myself since, a few years now, I try to just mind my business and not let certain things or not say certain things to people. Because I feel like, if I'm saying something, I'm doing it from a place of love or just caring or trying to protect. But, you're more straight up than me. How do you, I guess, go to that person and say, hey, what have you been doing for the last few years or last few months or weeks or what you did last week? It's been on my mind. How do you do that without coming across, I guess I should say, mean or, making them feel funny, even though, again, they're the ones that are making you feel bad.
Funny.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think, again, it's based on the relationship that you have with that person. There are friends or acquaintances that we have that we cannot speak to. You just can't speak to them. They're not going to get it. They're not going to like what you have to say. And I think you have to massage the situation. But again, it depends on the situation. So I'm just generally going to speak. For me, there are things that I see and I choose not to speak about it because I'm not in the right frame of mind to speak about it that is going to come off nicely. Me as well, I have my mouth is
okay, we know.
My mouth, guys, I'm telling you, I'm being honest. When I speak to people, it comes off bad, off the bat. I'm a lot rough around the edges. So because I am aware of that, I try my best not to speak about certain things, but also I have not had a lot of situations where I need to speak about things. But when I do need to speak about something, I am going to tell my friend how I feel. And I think if that person does not accept the way in which I speak, or, if they don't know me, obviously they're going to get offended. But if they do know me, I think they will then see where I am coming from. But I personally don't think everything needs a confrontation. I think you have to pick your battle with your friends. I think there are certain things that just need to be left unsaid, and you make a mental note of what that situation is. And going forward, you will know how to act towards that person. If it's other situations, like I've had a situation, Tanya was there. I hope my friend does not be mad at this, but I'm going to speak about it because we're talking about friendships.
Hey, we're going to be real.
Yes. I had a situation and I felt like we did a lot and it wasn't appreciated. So for me, in that instance, what I did was wrong. How I did it was very wrong.
Right.
But I do not regret speaking about it because I think that in that moment that needed to be said.
It needs to happen. Yeah.
And if I did not say something then, I think I would have never said it the next day. because that was not the moment. So I think you just have to pick based on your friends, you have to pick your battles. And if you do
Right.
tell someone something, you have to make up your mind that you and them, the relationship is never going to be the same. And you, as a person, have to be okay with maybe losing that friend. So if you want to say something to someone, I think that you have to make up your mind, hey, if I say this, I might lose my friend, but am I okay with losing my friend?
See, but I feel like, not to cut you off, but I feel like with that,
Okay.
if we're friends, and something is bothering me, and I'm saying, hey, Nikki, last week or yesterday, you spoke to me in a particular manner, I didn't really like it. Next time going forward, can you just say it this way or just not do something? If you're gonna get upset or think that you don't need to talk to me anymore, then were we really friends? Like that's always my battle, because I feel
Well,
like we should be able to communicate.
Sometimes I think that we look at life like that, but also I think you also have to remember we're all different. And
True.
again, we all take friendships differently. And again, you might be friends with somebody, but they're not friends with you. So, and when I say friends, I mean like a true friend. Yes, y'all
Right.
hang out, but that doesn't mean that y'all are really
A friend that actually knows you.
A friend that actually, and a friend that is really getting to know you. Let's say that friend that you like to hang out with, you say that person is your friend, they did you something. When you go to them, they're going to be like, what makes you tell me that? Who she think she be? Da, 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 da. Because they don't really know you. You know
like
what
that,
I mean?
Right.
I personally, though, I would tell anybody if someone is making you uncomfortable, if you have a friend and based on the situation, it is really making you uncomfortable and it's really bothering you, I think you owe it to yourself to sit down and let that person know, hey, you did this and I really don't like it and I don't appreciate it. I think bam, 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 bam. And then maybe they may have an explanation.
True,
And
that is
you
true.
guys can talk it through. But if it is that person is starting to act like who you talking to, me to do this, da, 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 then you already know then that friendship is lost.
Right. And I feel like for me, I'm in a situation right now, which, I'm just trying to move on from, where something happened and I was like, I was so much shocked. This is the person that I do anything for, or I would have dropped or put myself behind just to make sure that they have, or to, do whatever. And in one instance when I really, because I don't really be asking people, for help like that. That's something that I'm still trying to work on. But the one instance when I really needed you, you just gave me some excuse, and it was, that to me, I think it broke my heart, and I was like, wow, I was upset. So I'm the kind of person, I mirror people a lot. I don't know, there's probably some clinical term for that, but if you're going to give me a particular attitude, like if your energy is going to be low, then my energy is going to be low. I'm not going to be all bubbly. I'm going to basically give you what you give me. I don't know why I do that, but it's just, or if I see I'm trying hard to make sure that the energy is right around, and then you're giving me that negative energy, I'm just going to give it back to you. I've always, in a sense, been that way. And, it's been working, but, as we're going, I'm trying to change that. But when that individual did not come to my aid or to help me, it made me look at them totally different to this day. And, I've still done things for them, but it's like I'm doing it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, look at me doing this for you when I needed you this one time. You gave me all these excuses, and it's like you didn't necessarily care about me and my well-being. So that's something that I still battle with. I'll still do it. I'm trying to take a stand. But again, I feel like because for me, I'm usually, I guess, I don't want to say pushover, but because I don't like,
it's okay.
I don't like confrontation. So I just try to let certain things slide. But no, I'm maturing, I guess, or growing. And I'm really, I got to speak up for myself. You got to, as people say, show people how to love you, or you can't let people treat you, any old way, because you're not doing it for them.
I think for a situation like that, I feel like if I am there for that person and I'm always there for that person, I think for that situation, I think you should say something. It may not be not randomly coming out and saying something,
right,
but having a face-to-face conversation about it. I think a lot of it, or a telephone conversation about it. I think a lot of the times we're afraid to tell people how we feel about a particular situation. But I think sometimes you can easily bring it up in let's say y'all are talking about something and you could be like, and that time, I really didn't appreciate that this happened. I think when you bring it out like that, it may come across less harsh. if you are thinking about it and it is really, really bugging you, I think it is important to call that person and let that person know, hey, you've done this to me and I've been thinking about it for months now. I can't get over it. And this is how I felt about this. And I think if we're going to have a friendship, it needs to be it needs to be balanced. It needs to be balanced on your end and it should be balanced on your end too.
Well, you see, me, I'm the type of person now, you're saying that, I've thought about all this, but they're like two or many different sides of me. I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't like confrontation. But if I'm going to go approach that person, I'm going to go not in the right way. Like, that's my brain. Doesn't work that way. I'm like, you know what? Let me just let it go. Or if I'm going to go to them, I'm going to have an attitude because I feel like, you did me wrong. Me coming to you calmly and saying, oh, I didn't obviously I know I can do that, but for some reason I choose to go the angry way.
Yeah.
So that is why most I don't say anything. It's like, let me go calmly and say, you know what? Hey, this is what you did to me. And then for some reason I just start going off because it's like, I just start getting mad again because I'm like, wow, when I really needed you in that moment. But you know what? That's
and
just
something too. I think sometimes when something is happening in the moment, I think that's the best time to speak about how somebody's making you feel.
Right.
Because after the fact, to me, it makes no sense. But if it is that you are that type of person where you want to think about it before you speak about it, then I think that that's okay too. Because for me, I think I'm like that. I think I've grown to be that person that I would see something and I would just make a mental note about it. If it comes up in conversation, I am not afraid to talk to you about it. There are certain things that I choose to not put my energy into. And true. I think that that is also very important. But trust me, if you come and ask me to do something for you, I ain't doing nothing.
See, and that's a lesson that you've been trying to teach me.
Don't get me wrong. I will help you. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but I guess it's boundaries. We got to learn that healthy.
Yes, it's boundaries. I'm going to now place boundaries on you. And don't think that back in the day, I will drop what I'm doing to help you. I'm not going to do that anymore. Because at the end of the day, I do not get it from you. I get it from other people. I need to give the people that I am getting that type of relationship from, I need to put my energy into those people because at the end of the day, they're the ones that if I need them, those are the people that I can really do. I can't come to you if I'm in jail. I can't call you. You're not going to come and bail me out.
So you make a valid point. When I think about it, it's like, wow, again, for me, I'm attaching, oh, wow, we've been friends for X amount of times, that should matter. But when you think about it, as I say, there are people, these are not people who are going to come bail me out. I can't call and say, hey, you know what, can you give me a ride or can you do, it's just going to always be some excuse. You're not going to do for me what I did for you. You know what I mean? And, as adults now, it's not.
It's not fair and it doesn't make you feel good as a person that you are always their friends and it's not being reciprocated. And, I know sometimes it's very draining and it's sad because a lot of the times it's like, wow. And it's very hurtful too. It hurts badly that you would do something for me, but let's say I wouldn't reciprocate to you. And unless that person feels that, then, and if they knew that what they were doing, I don't think that they would do it. I think it's just that people think when you're pushover and when you're always there, that they're always going to gravitate to the people that are always there.
I know people who they know that they've been doing me wrong, but they just don't care because, again, maybe I'm just not the one that, even though if I would speak up and say, hey, I don't like what you're doing or I didn't like that, it'd be like, okay, but then it's back to square one. I think the cycle keeps going.
And in situations like that, Tanya, you need to let go. You need to let go of those people because at the end of the day, they don't respect you. It boils down to respect. So the mere fact that if I tell if you come to me and you tell me, hey, I feel a particular way about this situation.
Right.
And I am like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. But then every month you're going back to doing the same thing and having these great expectations from me, but it's not reciprocating. I think it's time that person, you distance yourself from that person because it's going to drain you. You're going to think about it. You're going to be sad about it. And it's not worth it.
Right. I thought about, friends that we know who are selfish, like they've shown repeatedly that they are selfish. They don't care. It's all of self. Almost like if they're like a narcissist. You know what I mean? and they don't consider you your equal. So like you said, we have those categories of friends. I guess, we have to, like I said,
Yeah.
I mirror people, treat them. We have this thing, do unto others.
Yes, but I don't really agree with mirror. I don't really agree with mirroring how someone is treating you. I think when you put, and some people may say, oh, it's the same as putting someone in a category. I don't agree. I think if I'm friends with you and you realize a particular trait about me, and let's say we're friends and it boils back down to support. You're not very supportive of what I'm doing. You're not there for me. Bam, I call you during that time and you couldn't make it. I'm still going to be there for you as a friend. But again, I think what you have to do is set boundaries. And I think you have to put yourself in a position where, hey, I'm doing it because I want to do it. I'm not doing it because I feel bad, or I'm not doing it because they're going to get mad at me, or I'm not doing it. You're going to help them because you want to help them whenever that is. So sometimes people may call you. I've been in situations, people call me, oh, can you do this to me? Now I will drop whatever I'm doing to go and do that. And I think when you say to yourself, hey, they have to wait, you let them know, you be like, hey, yes, I can help you, but I'm not available today. I'm available tomorrow. If you can't take that, well, I'm sorry. I think that is what people should do. I just don't believe in mirroring because somebody treats me bad, I'm going to treat them bad. No, I don't agree with that, because then you're going to feel bad.
No, that is true. So, when I said, I should probably correct myself, because, it's impossible for me to not do something with somebody. You know that no matter how I say, Nikki, I don't want to do this anymore. I still find myself, and I'll come and say, wow, I shouldn't have. But, in the moment, they got what they needed. But I'm here left. Yeah, I'm left feeling, wow, here I am doing X, Y, Z. And they never reciprocated, and they have no intention. It's just all about what they can get. It's like they just take. So when I said mirroring, I'm like, because I told myself, I'm going to try and do unto others what they do to me, but it's not in my nature. But I guess for me, it's like what I think, so that I can just get through the idea of, accepting just people for who they are.
Yeah.
And I think a key to maintaining like friendships, like you said, we have to set boundaries. If we're able to tell this person, you know what, yeah, I can't do it now because, I'm busy doing my schoolwork, or I'm busy doing work. I can do it for you in about an hour or two, or like you said, tomorrow. And if that doesn't work for them, then I'm sorry,
Find another friend.
I can't. Yeah,
Find another friend, that the people that you really do cherish, find them and let them help you, because I'm not available.
Right. Another thing I want to talk about is for us, because guys, we are both content creators, and I feel like we've been on this journey together to some extent, for a little bit, and we'll share ideas and do everything. But I feel like when I first started blogging, I thought that I was going to have my support from my Antiguan people, like friend. Well, let me say friend. Let me not say Antiguan people, because I don't want they do. I guess the people who I knew me then. I thought I was going to have the support from them, and as a content creator, it's not easy out here when people are reading your blog posts, are not watching a YouTube video, not liking, commenting, these different engagements. People are not doing, and you expect the people closest to you, whether they understand how, I guess, social media, how content creating goes. I feel like they sharing a video, sharing a blog post, that's support. Liking, reading a comment, tell me, okay, Tanya, I read your blog post. Next time, put a comment here, or, I really liked it. Just give some sort of feedback. And I've struggled with this. Like I've told you, even on our live the last time, I've struggled with this when people, I'm like, wow, the people who I thought were closest to me were not supporting. It took people who I didn't even know, or didn't even expect, rather, to support me, who really stepped up. And to this day, they still do that. When I see my quote unquote friends not even sharing Tanya's post, or not even saying, hey, Tanya, I see you doing a good job. Pushing back, I don't think we need validation from our friends, but it would be nice every now and again to say, well, I see you grinding. I don't know how you work full time and still find the time, like for you, Nikki, to film videos and do all these different things, just a little pat on the back to say, I'm proud of you. They don't do that. So, I feel like it made me really angry at one point in time. So, I was just distancing myself from these people who, again, I thought were my friends, because I'm like, wow, how is it that strangers or people who I've never really spoken to, besides a hi and a bye, advocating on my behalf, or sharing or supporting me when you're here, not even doing a damn thing. But yet still you want to, it always baffles me. So I want to know your take on that, because for me, like I said, it made me angry. And to the point I just stopped talking about whatever I'm doing to them, period. Whether it's my nonprofit, whatever I'm doing, I no longer let them know. They'll just see it on social media and then they'll be like, oh, why didn't you tell me? I said, well, where were you when I needed the support?
Right. I feel like that's a very tough question. You put me on the spot, girl.
That means the response is going to be honest and raw.
Yes, I'm going to try my best to craft it nicely though, because I'm working on my on my delivery. I have been there and it's very tough. It's very difficult to have friends and they not support you, especially when you're doing social media stuff. It affects you in a way where other people are seeing it, other people are commenting about it, other people are talking about it. It's not a good feeling. And I've had that. And I think for me, I have just made a mental note about it. And I would just say it allowed me to see things that I didn't see before. And it was like a teachable moment for me. It also allowed me to really support myself, because I think a lot of times we are so dependent on other people to validate us, to share our stuff. And when in essence, we really need to push ourselves. I think for me, it's just making a mental note that, hey, okay, I have these friends, but they're not supportive. And I would not go to them to discuss whatever it is that I'm doing, because again, they are not supportive of this particular situation, or they're not supportive of this particular person or whatever it is that I'm doing. And I see that I don't get that support when it comes to content creating. For me, it will just be like you, I just would not really discuss it with them. And, it's a situation where I would tell anybody it's hard, because content creating is hard in itself. So it's very hard to be friends with people like that, because you kind of want to just cut them off. You kind of just want to be like, oh, this is. But I think for me, I can only speak about my personal experience. I just made a mental note. I did go through a period where I felt really bad about it. But then I also looked at it like, you know what? Why should I feel bad about something like this? They should feel bad. And if they don't feel bad, then I am not gonna knock my head and feel bad about it. But I just made a mental note like, hey, I need these friends. They're not very supportive, and that's just who they are. And I still love them, but it's just a mental note for me like, hey, these are not my supportive people. They're not my supportive friends. So if it is that I'm doing something, I will be very hesitant to go to them to ask for advice or to ask them or let them know what's happening.
What is it that you're doing?
What I'm doing, they'll know after.
No, I agree.
At the end of the day, sometimes people need to realize that you have to give, especially if you and people are really good. If you and them are not good, then they don't have, they're not obligated to do these things. But for people that you've been there for and you're always
supported and
I think it's very important for them to reciprocate that and not do it because they see everybody else doing it, but do it because they genuinely want to do it. And when you see stuff like that and you see that people are not genuine, just make a mental note. Just be like, hey, these are not the people that I'm going to go to if I want to discuss a particular thing, because they're not very supportive. Why would I speak to them about that?
I agree. And I feel like they can't be mad.
Yeah, they can't be mad at that.
I feel like sometimes some of them, they do get mad, but I feel like I compartmentalize each friend. Because like I said, it was an issue. Like that used to make me so sick to my stomach. I'm like, wow, and I kept like trying to do different things so that they can see. Like, in a sense, force them to support. I can't tell you what I did, but I there were some things that I know I did that I was trying to force them to see, hey, this is what Tanya is doing. Go and support, go and read. But they still didn't bite that bait. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, let me accept that and let me just move on. And to this day, if they come and ask me something, if I choose to answer, I'll just be very vague. Because you don't deserve to have a seat at the table to know everything. You can be like a bystander, because that's pretty much what you are when it comes to the support. Because I don't want to say, everybody have different traits, but I feel like
and everybody has different way. I think everybody also have different ways in which they show support too.
Right.
So, even if somebody may not share, I think we have to get out of the culture of people reposting your stuff. But it would be nice But I think some friends are supportive in the background. Some friends are supportive because I have Tanya is looking at me.
Oh no, not you. I'm sorry. No, honey.
Oh,
No.
friends are supportive from the background. So they are supportive as in they will say, hey, I watched this particular video and it was a good video, but you could have done this. Or they would send me and be like, hey, I want you to do this particular thing. Or I had a friend, she's like, I thought you said you was on a diet. She messaged me and she's like, I thought you said you were on a diet. I see you buying waffles. And I'm like, you know, that kind of made me feel that, okay, even if she may not have reposted my stuff, because some people are also not into social media.
That is true.
People who have friends like that, at least they are watching the content because that's what I really need. And that's what we would really need. Like I would message Tanya and be like, hey, I read your blog post. It was really good. You know, I think those small things, it's not so much about the reposting. It's really about, are you genuinely supporting?
Yeah.
For me, I look at people funny when they say, hey, I see this particular video have so much views, and then I realize they go to watch it. For me, it's the friends that come to me at random about my content. I really appreciate them because to me, it's more of, hey, I don't even have to tell them to watch my content.
I feel that.
Because I have friends that are not social media like that, but I know they watch my content. I know they keep up with me. They message me, and I really do appreciate that, even if they're not reposting on social media.
Right. Like even with that, I would tell you, oh, say, hey, Nikki, you know, I watched the video, but it was on the TV, so I couldn't get to go because, I'm watching back to back. Because you know, like me and my sisters, we have our post notification on because we want to be officials. So, we always try to go watch. But for me, I'll binge watch when I'm at work. So then, if I'm at work, obviously I'm on my phone. So then that's when I'll leave a like or comment. And I'll come back and say, oh, your skin look this way in the video. I'll be coming in with my dramatic self saying something. And like you say, they are friends that they'll come and say, oh, I read this. It inspired me or it did whatever. Yeah. And again, in that, I guess for me, I find peace or joy knowing that there is some people who generally support, but they're not into or they don't think, okay, let me share on social media. Because again, that doesn't, I guess, validate, whether or not they're supportive or not, whether they share, at least, as you say, them coming to you, telling you, hey, I thought you said whatever. That means they're watching and following along.
Yeah.
The way
but at the end of the day, too, I do think that friends should share. I do think that.
I agree, yeah.
I think
gas me a little bit, like how you guys are going to share this podcast.
Right. And I think you can gas a celebrity or you can gas
share
an Instagram thought. I think you can gas me up. Do the same thing with me too. So I think in one instance, it's not that important. And I don't think you should lament on it. Yeah. But in another instance, I think you want people that are gonna be supportive in public as well, share your stuff and just really love you and really be there for you, not only when it's convenient for them to do so. Okay. So, but content creating and friends and stuff, those kind of things are hard because you can look at people funny. You can start getting in your feelings.
Okay. And it's like sometimes it's nothing or it's not even worth it sometimes. But, it's hard out here. That's why you see people saying, support your friends or support those who support you, because at the end of the day, everyone is not going to be supportive. But as we're getting ready to wrap this up, I want you to give the listeners some tips, I guess, for maintaining friendships. Like tips or what can we do to maintain our friendship, given that, we're all adults now, trying to evolve, trying to, make it in life. So what are some tips we can do to maintain, especially, you're in Trinidad, I'm here in Atlanta, we're all over the world. So what can we do to maintain our friendships?
Again, I think a smaller circle. For one, I think a smaller circle is better. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, meaning true friends, like people that you can really go to. I know I have a couple and I really cherish them. They're people like I can just call, I can talk to. I think maintaining friendships have a lot to do with respect and really knowing who your friend is. I mentioned about Lindsay. Lindsay and I have been friends for a very, very long time. We just have a mutual respect for each other. I think we're okay. We have never had an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
And I think if that was supposed to happen, that we would speak about it. I think it's very important communicating, checking up on your friends. And I'm going to say something here where we have friends and we have different personalities in friends. And a lot of us, like Tanya and myself, I think I'm considered, someone's told me I'm considered the strong friend. You know, the friend that people don't think that they have to do anything for, or they don't have to, let's say, share posts, or they don't have to message me, or I'm good. Not because people post on social media means that they're mentally good. Social media is an outlet that we use to help us at times, but sometimes it's very damaging. And I think people like Tanya and myself check up on that strong friend. Don't always expect your friend to check up on you. And even if that person have not spoken to you for a long time, I think even if you may be doing most of the checking up, I don't think you can let that affect you, especially if that person is really busy, AKA myself and Tanya. And we still talk. As again, we don't talk every day. And Lindsay and I don't speak every day. Now we speak every day because her life is changing and stuff like that. And I try to keep up with what's going on. I try to keep up with what's going on with majority of my friends.
Right.
Sometimes it's very, very hard. But I think maintaining a good friendship is really understanding and really trying to understand your friend and having that mutual respect. And where there are difficult conversations to have, I think have those conversations, because that's the only way you're gonna grow. It's just like a relationship.
Yeah, it's true.
Just have those uncomfortable conversations and know that it's not all about you. Stop making it all about you and really make it about the friendship. Don't message me when you want something, or message me only when it's convenient for you to message me only, or message me because you want me to share something for you. Don't do it like that. Genuinely message me because, hey, I just want to know if you're good.
You know, I agree. Piggybacking from what you said, I think we should always make time to connect. We don't talk every day. They are friends. Like my friend, you know, Drina, we talk. In the past, we would talk every day. We still try to talk almost every day, but I mean, we're all evolving. So we don't talk every day. But, you know, if it's on the weekends, we're going to call each other and we talk for, you know, a length of time on the weekends. And, you know, if I don't hear from her Monday to Friday, we'll still text, because I mean, that's just the way of life. But actually having an actual conversation, you know, we'll do our check-ins at the end of the week. You know, I'll call you and we'll talk. So I feel like, you know, in order for us to maintain friendships, we got to make sure that we are making the time to connect. We have to understand that we don't need to talk to a friend every day for them to know that
listen, I am
we're
not
friends or we love each other. Like,
don't call me every day. I don't want to talk to you every
right. It's like, I mean, sometimes I like to talk, but sometimes I don't have anything to say. You know, I just want to be left alone.
Listen, I am very long-winded, but call me every day. If you're clingy, let me tell you something. I do not like clingy people. Do not cling on to me. Do not expect a relationship from me, because I cannot give that to you. Because, you know, they're friends like that. Like, oh, we talked today. Did I do something to you? And I had a friend like that. And she's still my friend to the day. But I was like, listen, let me tell you something, girl. Take a step back. Take a step back. The things that you do with your normal friends, you don't need to do it with me. But that doesn't mean that I don't love you. You know?
Right. I won't show up for you. So we got to, you know, we don't have to talk every day. We can set and respect our boundaries. And boundaries is something that I'm learning. Like you said earlier, when you said, if somebody said, oh, can you do something for me now? No, I can't. In the past, I would drop what I'm doing that's important to me to make sure that you're satisfied. But now, you know, we can stand. Like I've been learning, no is a complete sentence. I think a big thing for me now, as I've gotten older and just going through what I'm going through, even though we are friends, I think we need to start normalizing asking someone, do you have the mental capacity to deal with, you know, me? I mean, it sounds weird, but I just feel like, you know, because I think we think if we're friends, you should always have time for me. But sometimes as an individual, you're going through something as well. So I think we can say, hey, Nikki, do you have time? You know, I want to vent. You know, that's something I would ask. I say, I want to vent. Do you have time? Are you time? Okay, I'm at work, or call me in an hour, or I'll call you in an hour, like something like that. So we can make the time now to give me the time to get into that mind frame where, you know what, if something is bothering him or her, let me try to push my problems to the side for a little bit, just so I can accommodate them and be that friend. Because, you know, you want to have a friend that's going to be able to listen, but we still, like I said, I feel like we need to normalize saying, hey, something really bad happened today. You know, do you think you can take this on?
Yeah.
It's opening a line of communication, still letting that person know, okay, you know what? Let me push this to the side and let me go see what's wrong with Nikima. Let me go see what's wrong with Tanya and try to find a solution and just be a listening ear.
Yeah. And
You
to be
know?
honest, with some of my friends that like I go to, I message them the same way. I'll be like, hey, can you speak? I really need to talk to you about something. And sometimes I get back the answer, hey, well, from one friend, but get back the answer. Because again, guys, I don't have a lot of friends. I
Right.
have selective people that I feel. There are people that I know I can go to if I'm in a jam. There's people that I know I can go to talk about certain things. And I have different age group of friends. And I think that that's having older friends are very, very valuable in your life. They have a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience that they give to you, and they let you see life differently. But this is off topic. But I think for me, when I want to vent about something, I'm learning to also not vent to anybody. I'm learning I'm learning to just vent to myself, internalize what's happening, and deal with it.
Figure out a way how to
Figure
deal
it
with it.
out.
Yeah.
If we have a conversation and we're talking and catching up, I'll be like, hey, Tanya, girl, this had happened to me now, and this is how I dealt with it, or I'm still dealing with it, because things sometimes prolong into weeks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm also learning to be my own friend. I think that is very important. And I think, that's something that I forgot to even mention in this conversation we're having. But I think it's very important to be your own friend. And I'm going to say to anybody, I started learning that too late in life.
Okay, me too.
Now I would consider me my own friend, because it really makes you more in tune with yourself. It really makes you secure with yourself and trust yourself if you're making certain decisions. Because sometimes we're so dependent on going to someone being like, hey, this is what it is.
And expecting them to solve the problem or make us feel better, Sometimes you have to just sit and just think, be with your feelings. Because I feel like you said, we're so quick to, let me go around to this person because I'm not feeling this way. I know they're going to cheer me up. Which, that may be the case. But again,
that's not me. When my friends come to me, I don't be cheering them up.
I just try to listen and give my 2 cents here and there.
Yeah, but no, when my friends come to me, like Tanya knows, when she comes to me, she not feeling
good. Girl, just tell me what I want to hear. Don't be out here, keeping it real. But I do appreciate that. But we gotta sit in our feelings. Like for me, I like talking to the mirror in my bathroom. I don't know why. It's like I'm rehearsing what I would say to a friend, and then by the time I'm done doing that, I'm like, okay, let me sit and think about how can I get over this? And like you said, in conversation, if you call me the next week, I can say, girl, I was going through this week and this is what happened. This is what I did. And then, we don't need to pull on what happened because I already dealt with it, that type of thing, of course. But yeah, Nikima, we are at the end of our episode, but I do want to say the importance of having a friend. You guys, they keep you mentally strong. I found this online. I think
friends
BetterHelp.
Yeah, I think friends are very important to have. People that sit down and say, hey, I don't need a friend. I think that's a
because some friends can be a positive influence.
Exactly. There are good people out there. Don't cut yourself off from getting to know people. But I think just having boundaries, and when the more years you put on people, is the more you're gonna see their true colors. No matter what nobody tell y'all, people are gonna show their colors eventually, and it's up to you at the end of the day if you want to stay in that friendship or you don't. But friends are very important to have. I think having good friends are very.
It's important. They say it motivates you, to live healthy and just to be better. And I feel like it's okay. One thing I want to share: it's okay to move on, to grow from someone. Just like if you're in a relationship romantically and you're like, oh, you know what, this person is not doing it for me anymore. We're gonna have to split up. It's the same thing. I mean, friendship breakups are hard, which I guess we can talk about in another episode. But it's okay for us to move on. It's not gonna be easy, I'll tell you that. But sometimes you just have to.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, losing a friend is so sad, especially if you really love that person. And I would just say to anybody, stop. I see a lot of young people have this thing about cutting off people and being a particular way with people. And again, you don't need to cut off somebody. Somebody have to do something real bad in order you to really want to cut them off. And even then, sometimes it's just loving people from a distance. And Tanya knows that's my say, hey, love that person from a distance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not, we live in a culture where you want to cut off people, and yet we are not cutting off people for the right reasons. I think sometimes if it is that you really cannot deal with this friendship, then, cut off that person. If you really think that person is jealous of you, or they are, if cutting off someone because they're not supportive sometimes is warranted. But
some people I feel like some people just don't know better, and unless we tell them, hey, we pull them up, they won't be able to do better. And if after doing that and they don't improve, then that's another conversation.
No, make a mental note.
You and your mental note. I'm gonna have to start making these mental notes. No, you have to
make a mental note and say, hey, that's how you roll. Okay, vibe.
Thanks for letting me know.
Thanks for letting me know. I'm so happy you showed your colors, because now I know how I'm gonna deal with you going forward. Yeah. But I still love you. But I know now, the relationship is gonna change, because I am going to change as a person. And that's okay.
I do agree.
Friendships are important, and stop out here locking off people, guys, and cutting off people. Like,
the cancel culture, sometimes it can be toxic. We do have to give people chances, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be giving a lot of chances. I'll tell you that. But just know when, and you'll know when. I feel like we'll know when it's time.
You do, yes.
To let go. We always know. Sometimes we try to prolong it, but we always know when to let go. So for that, guys, I hope today's episode, you guys got some, Nikima was spilling some tea here. I was sipping on what some of the tea she was spilling. But, guys, thank you for tuning into this episode. Thank you, Nikima, for coming on. I really appreciate you for us having this conversation. And I hope you guys be sure to like, subscribe, share. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. And, tell the people, Nikima, where they can find you on your social media and your YouTube and all that.
So you can find me on YouTube at officially Michele with one L. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe when you do find me on YouTube. And you can find me on Instagram, where I am not. You'll be able to interact with me more on Instagram. My Instagram handle, it's officially Michele, ITS, officially Michele with one L again. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thank you, Tanya, for having me. I'm going to also be speaking about some friendship on my channel, because people are requesting me. They say, for some weird reason, they just want me to talk about friendships.
We know you keep it real. So I'll be looking out for that video.
But, I personally don't really like to speak about friendships, because sometimes.
True, but I feel like it's conversations that we should be having. We don't always have these conversations, and we need to, be real about, hey, you know what, this is what I'm going through. So there's always someone that can
be thinking you're coming for them, and all of that.
I feel like if someone thinks that someone is coming for them, then that means the person is telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like that's just how I feel. If you think I'm coming for you, then and therefore, I mean, you're guilty of something that I didn't know you were guilty about, But guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll definitely see you next episode. Hey guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you made it to the end, I want to thank you. What you guys heard was a candid conversation between two really good friends, talking about friendships, life, and everything in between. All for joining me in the tea tasting room. Thank you, Michele. Be sure to, follow her on Instagram at It's Officially Michele with one L, and on her YouTube at Officially Michele. Before I go, guys, I'm going to tell you what I'm diving into. We do this weekly. I share what I'm digging or diving into. And I'm getting ready to read this book that's called Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I am going into this book blindly, guys. It came highly recommended by one of my friends, so I'm going to be reading that. I'll definitely put the link in the description so you guys can check it out and see if it's something that you want to read. What I've heard nothing but great things about this book, so that's what I'm going to be digging in. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you for joining me in the tea tasting room. I'll see you next week, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and help gas a girl up. All right, I'll see you guys next week.